find out more, go to radiogeneral.co.uk.
This is
Warrington Hospital's Feel Better station.
Radio General.
So this is the afternoon mix on a Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us. It's all about music. It's all about local things going on in Warrington. It's all about amateur rugby league. And we've got Hattie's Hot Topic. I'm wondering whether I should maybe do a jingle for this. What do you reckon?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, do you reckon?
Yeah.
that would be...
That'd be good.
Would that be good, that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll have to get you sort of saying that in a number of ways, and I'll merge them all together. So what you like for accents and stuff?
Not great.
Can you do a Lee accent?
No.
Not many people can.
I think
No,
I
you
might
have to be
offend
born
if
to
I
that,
tried
don't you? You have to be born to it or go away to a finishing school in Switzerland for a year, I reckon.
What, for a Lee accent? What, the Swiss in Switzerland?
Swiss finishing schools, it's where they send all the ladies to make them very posh, isn't it? The debutantes.
We don't go that far.
I know, but to get
You know,
them...
this is like a real day trip coming out to Warrington. This is why I'm always jolly.
You're jolly?
Yeah.
Coming to Warrington?
Coming to Warrington.
Gosh.
Somebody's got to be jolly.
Lee must be really more excited than I thought then. You know, I've not been to Lee for about 15 years. I really should go and have a look at it, shouldn't I?
You've still not been?
I know, still not been. I will do.
Jeez.
I've been to
You're missing
Bent.
out.
I've been to Bent's Garden Centre, but that's as near to Lee as I've got.
That's still more Glazebury.
I've been to Culture.
I drive through it quite a lot because my friend lives just
Do you
past
you
Lee.
lock your doors and windows?
No, that's Salford.
It doesn't look that bad though.
It's all right.
Yeah, you went round the nice bit though.
It's all right. Anyway, enough of kicking my hometown when it's
He's
down.
got it. You started it.
Right. Hattie's Hot Topic. We're talking about phobias. We're talking about
Yeah.
fears. What have you got lined up for us?
Well, I thought, because I'm moving into a new academic year, and a lot of people my age are, starting a new college, starting a new uni. And I think that is a lot to do with facing fears. You're facing something new. So it kind of got me thinking about fears and how to overcome them. So we're going to have a bit of discussion about all of our fears, aren't we?
We are.
See
And
what
we've
all
locked the
got.
studio. I've locked the studio door so that none of my fears come through the door.
Yeah, so David and Lesley, would you like to have a little chat about your fears?
Shall I go first?
Yes.
You go first because I'm frightened going first.
Well, I suppose there's two real ones which kind of like crept up in my own life fairly recently. First one was fear of failure, and this was brought on because I left a long-standing job a couple of years ago, and I've felt a lot of pressure to try and find something since which sort of suits and I can fit everything in. And there's a couple of times in those jobs that I haven't handled change and the whole changing thing, and I've just felt like I'm failing before I've started in it. The second one, believe it or not, is all actually like a fear of public speaking, presenting, interviewing someone that you've not spoken to before. So you don't believe it, but when I get up on a Wednesday morning, I have to go and lock myself away for 20 minutes just to get ready for coming in on air.
Yeah,
What do you do in that 20 minutes?
I kind of like practice. It's all...
How do you?
La, 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 la.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
Right.
big lorry, little lorry, cardboard box. All
No,
that type of
it
stuff.
surprised me when you said that because kind of thought you seem really confident. You wouldn't really think that's one of your fears.
I actually think that it's a good thing though,
Yeah,
because it shows that
definitely.
you care.
Yeah,
So if you do get, and this is something that, with being a long-standing rugby commentator on Radio General as well, I always find that before you go live, you've always got a little tickle in your throat,
Yeah.
and it's if I don't have that little tickle and I don't have those nerves before opening my mouth for the first time, that's when I should change what I'm doing, I think. So
Yeah.
I don't actually see it as a bad thing,
no.
if you know what I mean.
No, I think it's good to be nervous, definitely.
And it shows you've got that fight or flight going on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that you're thinking, right, well, my body's preparing for battle. And it's,
Yeah.
and I suppose sometimes it is a bit of a battle. I mean, as I say, fairly recently, the other thing regarding myself has been not wanting to go out, which is really unusual because, like, you said, I come across as somebody who's like really confident
Yeah.
and, quite cocky sometimes, possibly, even though it's quite easy, I find, coming in here, playing a few records, having a chat with people that I know
Yeah.
and I'm getting to know. So those were sort of the two that crossed my mind initially.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of silly fears? Because they're quite rational fears.
Yeah, well, the silly one, Let's have it. Let's have it out there. Right, I'm off to Fiji in a couple of months. We've already done a couple of pieces on this show, haven't we? Over, and I know it's a really daft fear because I don't fear aeroplanes. I don't generally fear transport. Fear of flying, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to be up in the air 21 hours. I've never been on a flight that long.
It's a long time.
I think the main thing to fear there is the boredom, because the actual flying's no different than short haul.
This is what I've said to the management staff,
in
the fact that if I can't get round and speak to every single player who's going on that tour in 21 hours, there's something gone wrong somewhere.
Yeah. You see, I've been flying since I was very young, so it doesn't bother me, but I went on holiday with my auntie a couple of years ago, and she was absolutely petrified, and it surprised me, because she goes away a lot.
Yeah.
And before takeoff, she was clinging onto the seats, and she'd had to have 2 drinks before we got on the plane, and it's quite sad, really, isn't it? Because I've seen some people like really, really frightened, and because that's one of the few things that I'm not frightened of.
Yeah.
It's sad, but they do courses where you can overcome that, don't they?
Yeah, I've seen it on some programmes as well, when you go in and kind of talk to the pilot and that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like flying, and I think a lot of my fear of flying has come from my mum.
Oh, right, okay.
Because when we don't really fly
she
much,
too.
but when we used to go away a bit, and I'd kind of say the night before, I'm really scared for the flight, and she'd kind of be like, oh, so am I, but we'll get through it together. And I think because she was scared, it's kind of come down onto me, and when we used to be taking off and sitting next to each other, she'd be shaking as much as me, and it puts you on edge as well, because you feel like there's something bad happening.
So is that where they used to hand the mints out and stuff? You just go, no, I can't have one. I definitely can't. Just chuck me that sit bag instead.
She used to have a little song.
Yeah.
So this is like mantras, isn't it? Then,
yeah. When we all hold hands, me, my mum and my sister, when we're taking off.
Dare I ask what this song was?
I don't remember what. I don't even think it was a proper
I'll sing
song.
it. You know, if you give me the lyrics and you write them down during the next break, I'll sing it.
Did it work?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I'll ask her when I go home, and might bring it in a few weeks and can play it.
That would be good, actually. The only time I have been frightened of flying is I was flying somewhere in Malaysia. Yeah. And we were 40 minutes away from the airport, and the pilot came on and said the airport had been struck by lightning. And we're going to circle for a little while, and then we'll make a decision on what we're going to do. At which point, this is a scary one now. And I was thinking about, we might make an emergency landing in the jungle or something. And I turned to the person I was sat next to and said, if we land in the jungle, there might be big spiders. And the person I was with said, that's the least of the worries. We might not even land at all. Yeah. Anyway, after about 20 minutes, he came on and said, the airport's back to normal now. Yeah. And everybody was just gasping. So relieved.
You've mentioned a really common phobia there in spiders.
I know.
Have you actually got this?
Not spiders, but spiders when you go abroad and they're
that are as big as a hand.
Yeah, as big as a hand. Those kind of spiders, snakes, tigers, lions.
The thing is,
Jurassic Park has seen
in Australia though, it's the little critters that you've got to be wary of, isn't it?
I know, but my brother-in-law is really scared of spiders, and he's a big tough man. Yeah, he's not frightened of anything. Has he
ever faced that fear of spiders then?
But I do volunteer somewhere else, and there's a girl I work with, and she's 16, and she lives with she's 17, and she shares a flat with her boyfriend. And he rung her up in the morning and said, I'm coming out to meet you in town because there's a spider in the bath and I don't want to be in the flat.
That is a bit extreme, isn't it?
So
that seems a bit extreme.
He's waiting in town for 2 hours for it to finish. Then they could go for lunch and she could go back and get the spider.
I've actually got spiders on my list then.
Have you really?
Yeah. I really don't like them. And I know, the thing is, it's stupid because I know they can't hurt you.
They're useful as well, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think it's something I heard once. I think my mum told me that in your life you eat about 30 spiders because when you're sleeping at night they crawl into your mouth.
I have to admit,
not really, just scared me.
I would have a little bit more of a fear of him if I woke up and found one on the pillow. I sort of sat there staring at me thinking, I'm going to crawl inside your gob.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when there's one on the ceiling in a hotel or a bedroom or something, and you think, I can't go to sleep with that on the ceiling.
But I don't mind beetles or anything. Don't mind things like that.
I like the beetles.
Yeah, but even other crawly kind of things, don't mind. It's just spiders.
Well, the earwigs, those. Somebody told me when I was a kid that they go into your ear, and so every time I see them, it's totally rubbish, totally irrational.
You would have hated then. Was it Star Trek 2?
I don't know.
Okay, because there's a scene in that where they put these horrible little creatures inside their ears.
Lovely.
They hold them open and sort of feed these things into their ears, and it takes over the mind.
But oh, right. Well, that's what happened to me then. But I've seen a spider about this big.
Yeah. That doesn't work on radio.
No, but you can tell how big that is from
this
there.
This big. She's holding her fingers, probably about 8 inches apart.
And the body was like this big, 4 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. Big black furry body and big legs.
Yeah, it's the legs. Oof.
Was it saying you're not coming in? Your name's not down, you're not coming in.
I was trying to come out of the side and not get into it. If I'd known it was there, I wouldn't have gone up to the waterfalls, that's for sure. But they're big, aren't they, some of them?
Yeah, no, not a fan of spiders.
So are there, we've talked about a lot of like rational and a couple of irrational fears in there. Have you got any others that you've not sort of mentioned there, Hattie?
I've put being in the dark alone.
Oh, right.
I sleep in the dark alone, but I really just don't like it. Like thinking of being trapped in a room in the dark, kind of not knowing where I am, really scares me.
Well, that's a really interesting one.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because...
Have you ever had any sort of bad experiences or something? Is that like the reason behind it? You know, like your sisters trap you in the room and won't let you out or something?
Not really, no.
That's my sister you're talking about.
I sound like just sit back on the couch and tell me all about it.
But no, that is...
But you know what? You just reminded me there's something... Well, a long time ago in a film, there was somebody in a cottage and they opened the curtains at night just to see the stars, and there was a face at the window.
Ooh.
Now that is like really scary. Sometimes I hear a noise at night and I think, oh, I'll have a look out, but I think, no, there might be a face at the window.
I don't know if maybe it is from kind of films and things, because
Yes.
I've watched quite a lot of horror films. I think sometimes you don't realise how much that might affect you, and I think at night, especially in the dark, everything seems 10 times worse, 10 times scarier.
And you mentioned another thing, didn't you, on your list?
Which one? Well, you just reminded me then about one of my fears that I was going to talk about, which is the fear of clowns.
No, I don't like clowns.
It's not a phobia, but it's a fear. And it's not the clowns that are just with a bit of makeup. It's those with the big, funny masks with the distorted teeth and the nose and all rubber. And I think because that's
you just described my face there.
Well, that's what I was looking up for to get inspiration for the description. But in films, you always see those kind of people with those masks on lurking in multi-storey car parks with baseball bats, or you see them robbing banks. So that's really quite scary. And I looked it up when we thought about this, and there's actually a word for being frightened of clowns. A
Clown phobia?
No, it's something similar, but not quite that.
Oh, right.
And they say it's because when you're a child, when you're a baby, you see faces, human faces, and get to know what they look like. Then when you see a clown's face, it doesn't compute with reality.
Because it's distorted.
Because it's distorted. But it said a lot of celebrities are frightened of clowns, and when it said Johnny Depp is, I thought, oh well, me and Johnny, we've got something in common there.
I just wonder how that conversation would start, though. Hiya, Johnny, how you doing? You know,
fancy a trip to the circus.
You know, you've come a long way since you got splattered on that ceiling in Nightmare on Elm Street.
But somebody bought me a clown on a trapeze. It was an ornament, and it had this weird face, and I thought, and it cost a lot of money, and somebody very close who visited my house quite a bit, and I thought, I cannot put this up. But I don't know why they do that for kids, because it's supposed to be for kids to make them feel happy at circuses, but they look hideous. And then we've got the big shoes and the cars that leak water and the flowers that pop out of nowhere.
This almost sounds like you're getting a rant. I just think you're anti-clown. It's not really very further, so I'm going to stick up for clowns.
Oh, go on.
Well, do you remember that thing, was it last year, with the clowns?
Oh, the one from America?
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
it came over and people
that was
dressed
really
up.
scary.
It's
That was
awful,
weird.
isn't it? It's just weird. I mean, you know, there's somebody in, but all those full head masks are quite scary.
Yeah.
I went on holiday and sat next to this man who was going to Prague on a stag night.
Yeah.
And he actually had a rubber head of a stag. And he was talking to me through this, and I thought, okay, can we take the
Was
mask
he
off?
wearing it?
Yeah.
This just sounds really, really odd.
Well, it was a stag night for men, isn't it? And they were
Still odd, though.
They'd been drinking a little bit, you know. But he
Mm.
took it off when the sandwiches came round, so that was okay.
He didn't order chocolate mousse, did he?
No. But my real one is the dentist. When I was young and went to the dentist, it's school dentist. It's not the same as now. At Gowan Place, a student did me a filling and slipped and cut all inside my mouth.
Ow.
So they had to pad it all up. This would not happen now. Pad it all up with cotton wool, and they just sent me out. But when I came out, they never said anything to my mum or anything. When I came out, my mum said, "You okay in a shoulder?" I mean, nowadays everybody would sue for that.
Yeah.
But for years and years, whenever the dentist drill, I just really panicked. But I've got a lovely dentist now, and he's very nice and kind, and he's got me to get over that.
And he gives me a lollipop every time after.
And he gives me a little badge that says I was very brave today.
You did sound like the little kids that you're going to be looking after this weekend, then.
I'm getting character ready.
So we've had this little bit of a natter about what sort of scares us.
Yeah.
What would scare you listening? What do you reckon? Is it our presenting? Is it our choice of music?
Is it us generally?
Is it us generally? Yeah.
Can I just mention one other, because it's low-key ghost stories.
Low-key ghost stories.
Sometimes when people
are we going back to like Nordic myth here?
No,
because there was a character called Loki, wasn't there, in Nordic?
I don't know. I don't
mythology.
watch television.
It's not on television.
I don't know that.
It's like all passed through.
But when people tell ghost stories, they tend to elaborate and they're very dramatic and very thin. But I've got a friend, and he's very quiet person, really. He's very interesting but very quiet, and he lives in a cottage on the edge of a park, a very tiny cottage, and he lives on his own. And he said one night he woke up and he felt like there was somebody sitting on the corner of the bed.
Ooh.
And he just said hello, like that, and it moved up as if it got up, and then there was a creak, and then he put the lights on and there was nothing there.
Oh no, I don't.
I mean, that kind of just very low key thing is more scary than a big dramatic one, I think.
I've got a low key ghost story for you.
Go for it. Is it in Lee?
It starts off with an old empty barn. There was nothing in it. Sorry.
Very good.
No, I don't believe in ghosts, but I feel like if you say that,
they'll come and get you.
Yeah.
I think
I
exactly the
don't
same.
know, just something
You see,
strange about
I'm
it.
opposite, because I do believe in it.
Yeah.
I went on, these sort of like ghost hunting
Yeah,
events
they look quite good though.
and nights that you can go on. I went on one about 18 months ago now, treating myself. It was a birthday treat. So I have some weird ideas for birthday presents. But anyway, I decided that I would go on this ghost hunt, which went to an old pit in Astley. Stop it. Don't laugh.
I thought you were going to say some medieval castle or something.
No, it's an old pit.
An old pit.
But this was a coal mine in which there was a gas explosion. There was a big gas explosion sort of like years ago, and I went out of a bit of morbid curiosity because if I'm right in thinking, my great granddad was actually killed in the incident.
Oh right.
So I was quite intrigued to go along and just see, would I hear anything? Would I see anything? Would anything try to get in touch with me? Because they did all the, they did all the old Ouija boards and opening up and, linking with things. It was really, really interesting. And the person that was running it said, there is a guy that's trying to come through and sort of chat to you here, Dave. But I never had that conversation. I'm gutted. But it was a real interesting experience. That I absolutely loved it. And one thing I did do, though, is when I got in my car, I did check that there was nothing sitting on the back seat.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, when we communicated about this, I was scared of going downstairs in case there was a ghost there. It doesn't do to think about it too much, does it? But I've been on ghost tours around Chester. That's quite good.
Yeah.
And went to a Halloween thing at Stile Mill, and they have lots of characters dressing up, people in chains and everything, which is not really scary because it's people. Yeah. But then we were walking along a bit where they had it's dimly lit and they had the mills going quietly, and there's a pile of rags on the floor, and as I walked past, this hand came out the rags and grabbed my ankle, and that was really scary because you weren't expecting it. No.
Oh, no.
So we've revealed our fears,
and we've locked the studio door.
Can you tell me, are we normal?
No.
Yeah. Well, I have got actually a list.
I was going to say
some common fears.
Okay,
go for
so
it.
The most
if we get 10 out of 10, can we get a prize?
The most common fears are social phobias, so that will probably include the speaking as well. Fear of open spaces, claustrophobia, fear of heights, fear of flying, fear of insects, and fear of dogs.
Fear of dogs, yeah. In fact, our postman had an interesting encounter with our dog.
Right.
As I've said, I've talked about little Teddy, haven't I?
Yeah.
A couple of times, on this, and he made that fatal flaw of sometimes we'll leave the porch door open for him to sort of chuck the mail in. Really, I didn't realise that the middle door was open. So of course, he arrives, slings the mail in. and how Teddy launched himself through the air at the poor postie who managed to just protect himself. So we're probably not done his fear of dogs any sort of good whatsoever. Though.
Shows he's a good guard dog, though.
It does, yeah.
That's
He's
what
like,
you need.
like a little lion he is. It's amazing. Just
How big is he?
Little.
Can you be slightly more specific?
Yeah, I just say it's like being attacked by 2 foot of fluff.
2 foot of fluff.
I think my dog, if there was a burglar or anything, he'd just lick them.
Oh.
Literally.
At least he'd catch him though.
Yeah.
I'll catch him.
Yeah.
That's it. Get him off. Get him off. So we're actually quite, I suppose, normal in the fact that there's a lot of these fears, and I wonder whether there's some of this stuff which is almost like inbred into us as human beings.
Well, I've actually got a quote which I really liked, and it says, "Fears are nothing more than a state of mind." And it's true, because a lot of fears you have, like say my fears for spiders, I mean, I was looking for a song.
I know what he's going to look for now. Sorry, Hattie, but when you've been here a year, you'll know the same.
My fear of spiders, you know, if you really think about it, the spider can't, in this country, the spider can't kill me. It is just in your mind, you create that fear. And that is a good thing. That I think that's why I like that quote, because it shows if it's in your head, you can change it and you can overcome your fears.
Well, that's same about your negatives and positives in life, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't change what's happened to you. You have to change how you think about it.
Yeah.
And this is where they sort of like advise facing your fears to a certain, not just throwing yourself into a room full of spiders, for example, if you hate that, but you might start off with just being able to look at pictures of a spider, and that's the first step, isn't it? Or if you've got a fear of wide open spaces. With me, it was crowds. This is why I went watching Lee Centurions. But
I took my mum to the Blue John Mines, the caverns, and didn't know till we took her there that she was feared of closed spaces. But we didn't even get into the caverns. It was the reception area. She didn't.
Oh, no.
So we drove all that way, got in the reception, and she said, no, she just saw the tunnel going down to the caves and said, no, we can't do this. So we had to come all the way back and go somewhere else.
But it is funny how different people have different fears. And when I was kind of thinking about it, you know, is your fear from experience? And I think kind of, is it genetic? Like I said, with flying, I think my mum has passed that on to me. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how fears have come into your life.
You see, I wasn't scared of dentists till that thing happened to me.
So
suddenly it makes you more aware of it. So are there any tips for people with?
Yeah, well, I've got rationalise your fear, or identify what is the core fear. So kind of with flying, I know the fear I've got is that I'm not in control. So you kind of got to look at the deeper fear. I've said get comfortable with the fear. And when you fear something, move towards it. So if you've got a new fear, kind of, instead of backing away, try and move towards it and, you know, make a positive impact on that fear.
Well, that's what they say, isn't it? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I've said find other people with the same fear, and I think that is a good one. Like we've kind of both said about flying. So
I can go meet Johnny Dev and talk about clowns, can I?
Stop bringing Johnny into the conversation. You're sounding really scary to me, mate.
I hope he's not listening. He'll be really frightened he's got a stalker.
But definitely talking with someone who has the same fear, I think it helps you rationalise that fear, and you kind of understand each other, knowing you're not alone with that fear. I've said face your fears head on. Look at it as a challenge and a task, so something to overcome. And then the last one, think of the sense of achievement if you did face that fear. So if I faced the fear of spiders, you know, how would it feel to be able to pick a spider up and actually take it out rather than like shouting my mum upstairs
I know.
to get it for me? But definitely. And I think with like your public speaking fear, imagine that if you did a massive speech somewhere, imagine the achievement you get from doing that.
Well, I mean, that is the thing, and it's like when I've completed when I've completed like a commentary or something like that, there's a great massive buzz and surge of adrenaline, which I really feel, because usually it means that I can't get to sleep until about 3 o'clock in the morning afterwards, because I've got myself sort of all heads up and I'm thinking, I've had a good game. Warrington might not have played well, but I've had a good game. Widnes have been terrible. I've had a great game, you know, so it's like that type of stuff really. And it's like as well, if you've done like a good presentation at work, and obviously, you know, we're looking towards things that we do in careers these days, where you do a lot more speaking to people, and there's the potential of doing this type of thing, isn't there?
Yeah.
So it is. It's sort of feeling that anyway, and because I get that, and I know it's a good thing, I know I can control it.
Yeah.
And I know I can gain control of that situation because ultimately people's going to be listening to what I've got to say.
Yeah, and I think I was very nervous to come into this radio and kind of...
And then you saw us and thought, well, nothing to worry about.
But it was something very different for me, talking with new people. But I know now that I've done it and really enjoying it, it's a sense of achievement, and to tell people, oh yeah, I do some stuff on the radio. You know, it feels good to be able to say that you've overcome something.
That's good. Well
and
done.
you can keep pointing people to our Facebook page
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
because we upload all your stuff as well.
When I was at the BBC tour, he was kind of saying, has anyone done any radio? And I was putting my hand up.
Oh, very good. So did they get you to do anything?
No, they didn't, I think. But
Did they? Yeah.
I was half expecting you to say, yeah, I announced
I've got a job. Yeah.
I announced, what was that? You know, what did they call it? The continuity people?
yeah.
In between all the shows that are on telly. I'd love that job, mate.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Yeah.
Would you?
How ace would that be? You know,
Oh, I think that'd be the dullest
because you
job.
could just go, oh, no, yeah, that was a great episode of EastEnders. Join us again tomorrow. We've got the news coming up now. It's not good. Because it isn't ever any good news, is it?
I don't know. There is some. Theresa May doing her African dancing
yeah, I
yesterday
saw
was
that
pretty
last
interesting.
That's just odd.
I know.
That's
She
just
looked
odd.
really weird. But why was she even dancing? Because the other officials
Yeah.
weren't dancing. It's not like they were all dancing and she joined
Yeah,
in.
she looked a bit odd, but...
She did.
Uh,
Nice
Hattie,
jacket, though.
Hattie, thank you very much for going through those. Have we covered everything?
Yes, we have.
Yes, we
Yep.
have. Right, okay. Well, I thought there's only one song which I think can follow us talking about fear. And you mentioned that it's all part of the mind and it's all part of the mind's processes,
Yep.
and sometimes you don't fully understand why you've got that fear. You get irrational ones, you've got rational ones. And ultimately, we've got a brilliant mind, haven't we? Here's the furniture.